However, their will seems to be unshakable. And once again, as long as it stays that way, and as long as West supports that, Ukraine will win this war. The question is, at what cost? And I think this is where the West mission should be, to ensure that Ukraine does at a lower cost and in a shorter time frame.
What if Putin just turns around and annexes the ground that he's taken? He says, the Donbass, the land bridge, it's mine. I've got it. We're annexing it, and that now becomes part of Russia, just as he did in 2014 with Crimea. Can he hold the ground? I mean, does this end then? Does Ukraine be put in a position of having to negotiate a ceasefire and then get into a long protracted conflict like they were after 2014 in the Donbass? Or do you think that Putin couldn't hold that ground and Ukraine wouldn't give it to them and wouldn't quit? The war wouldn't stop.
Yeah, no, it's an excellent question. So first of all, yes, Russia is in fact setting very active conditions for annexation of the occupied territories. And I think that's one of the reasons why there is a sense of urgency to try to expel them, especially from the southeast. I do not think it will end there, precisely because the goals haven't changed for Russia, for Putin. And I think our planning assumption should be that Putin's successor will inherit some of these goals until we see indication otherwise. Therefore, there are no short-term off-ramps in this war. And if Russia is able to annex the territory, it will definitely establish a permanent military foothold there, from which it will threaten, Ukraine whenever it assesses a good moment to do so. I do think that the risk of a premature ceasefire is a risk for Ukraine, because Putin, if the offensive is going poorly for him in the east compared to his objectives, he may decide to use a ceasefire offer to try to break Ukraine's momentum, to try to freeze the front line in the best possible configuration he can hope for in this war. And most importantly, break this information focus on Ukraine that it is right now through some sort of a peace deal or a ceasefire.
Yeah, and that's key now, because you have France and Germany and Italy, to keep talking about negotiations, and Macron's under a lot of criticism here in Europe that he is pushing Ukraine back to the table, maybe for his own political purposes, but it doesn't serve Ukraine's long-term interests. And so you have all of that politics playing in, and then you have elections in America, and everybody's saying this grand allegiance. Maybe you scratch the surface and there are a lot of cracks appearing, and that is not boding well if this conflict is a long-term conflict for Ukraine.
Yeah, I think the question about the perception and the information operations that are targeting precisely this, it's the partnership between Ukraine and Western countries, is very core. And look, Putin has advanced some of his goals in the past simply by manipulating perception without altering the reality substantially. And it's part of his offset strategy, because the limited, the power base that he has is rather limited, and it's actually becoming more limited. So he needs—
Why do you say that? Why does Putin have a limited power base? I mean, he seems pretty strong.
I mean, I think Russia has, as a country, actually several limited bases of power even before February 2014. They had niche capabilities in the military area. Of course, they have nukes, they have veto in the UN Security Council, some influence over the world through energy, but that was pretty much it. And I think in many cases, Putin has achieved objectives by amplifying those limited bases of power with information operations, with creating perception to project the power of Russia beyond what it truly is.